Okay. So the first question is, what are the signs a boy is addicted to pornography? What are the signs that show that a boy is addicted to pornography? And for a boy who is addicted to pornography, how can you help him out of it? Also, there's another question which says, what's the next course of action after a boy drops out of school? What's the next course of action after a boy drops out of school? Then you spoke about healthy emotions. How do you tell in a society like Nigeria where there's really no talk about mental health and all those things? How do you help? How can a parent discover that their son is going through a mental health crisis, and how can they help him out of it? Thank you. This is the question.
The first question is how to know a boy that is struggling with porn.
Yes.
Abby, porn, then
yes,
talk about dropouts and then emotions. Okay, yeah. Yes. One of the signs of boys that are struggling with porn is the fact that most of them are reserved. You know, most boys, one thing that makes it difficult to identify a boy that is struggling with sexual issue from a girl is that when a girl is struggling with a sexual issue, when a girl is sexually exposed, it's always easier to detect than a boy, because you see a lot of things changes around the girl, the way she dresses, a lot just changes, you know. But for the boy, is that most boys, when they are sexually active at a young age, what that does to them is as if it fast forwards their age, and most of them begin to act mature, quiet, because it's as if it's bringing them to become a man early, you know. So it's always difficult to decode when a boy is struggling. But one of the things you see is my video not on? Can you see my video?
On, I can see you. I can see you and hear you perfectly.
Nobody's asking me to activate my video. So most of the boys always reserve on their own. When the boy is struggling with porn, they always on their own. Some of them it happen under their bed sheet. They always want to be on their own. They always want to be in the bedroom. They are just this. They are reserved. They're always very quiet. But because of the nature of boys, most times it's difficult to decode. And that's why we tell parents or caregivers to build a relationship. Because when you keep policing, sometimes you may never find out. Some of them are very smart. What will make a boy to talk to you or tell you when he's going through such is the relationship you have built with him. So people say boys don't like open up or they don't want people to build that. No, boys are always ready and looking for somebody who will understand them. Once they get that person who is open, who can understand how they feel, what they're going through, they're able to talk about it. So when we build relationship, then we're able to understand when a boy is struggling, because sometimes some of them are having those signs, but you can never decode that there's something actually going wrong. But building a relationship will help you to know, because the boy will say, this is what I'm going through and I need you to help me at this point. Secondly, about dropout. Yeah, one of the things we do in our organization is also to help boys that drop out of school. Let's encourage people that no matter the issue, when a boy drops out of school, yes, it's good for them to learn skills and acquire skills, but whatever we can do to also help that boy continue that learning, even though not in a conventional school, but whichever platform that can help that boy to continue. Because we've discovered that from our experience with boys that are involved in crime, cultism, and all of that, most of them are dropped out from school, and they are coming from a dysfunctional home. So we can see that there's a correlation between dropping out of school and the negative behaviors that most boys portray. Because boys want to be engaged. When they are not engaged positively, they have a lot of energy that they want to unleash. When you are not doing that, they look for a negative way out to unleash those energies. So we encourage parents that make sure your boy is going to school. If he's not going, get him engaged positively, because that energy must be unleashed. If it's not unleashed positively, they look for a way to unleash it negatively. And that's the local health most boys are having with their parents, because they want to unleash. It's a natural gift that God has given boys because of the high rush of testosterone, especially at puberty. So most boys want to unleash because it's on the inside of them. So with that, also education is key. Get them engaged in school, because when they're out, a lot happens to them. So when a boy is dropped out, we encourage, look for a way to engage that boy, not in a conventional school. There are different educational platforms or things you can help that boy to engage, even as he works, as he's doing the handwork or anything, but his mind, his mental development is still intact, because that is very key to the developmental process of a boy. And lastly, you talked about emotions. I need you to take that question on emotion again.
You said that you spoke about promoting healthy emotions amongst boys. So in a society like Nigeria, where there isn't really any system of helping out people who are struggling with mental health crises like depression and stuff like that, how can you help a boy who is dealing with all these things?
Thank you very much.
How can the parents notice? How can the parents find out that their child is dealing with any mental health crisis and help them out of it?
Thank you very much. Very key question. Because that's one of the issues we have. The boys or people don't even have places where they can go and when they have mental health issues. Even the people who are engaged in helping others, some of them are very expensive. How many people have the money to pay for those services? I was saying government needs to, create platforms where people can go. I was happy when I saw yesterday that the Lagos State government now have a center where civil servants that are having mental health issues can go and get help. Those are the things we want to see in the functional system, who is really, after the interest of these people. But we are not seeing that. And one of the things I mentioned in my presentation is men building safe communities where they can talk about this thing. But we have a community on Facebook for men. The men talk about issues they go through. So if the government is not creating that, we as men can create that. Form accountability groups where you can talk about issues that concern you. And you're there, you're open. I've joined so many accountability groups for men. And it's amazing. There are a lot of them online where you can talk. There are people who are there to offer free services, psychologists to talk to you, people who will guide you, where you can always share your emotions or the way you feel. Because most men are locking things on the inside, and that's why we see a lot of men explode in violence, in anger, because they're not sharing, they're not expressing. More men are dying of hypertension, more men are dying of some terminal diseases because we are locking things on the inside. And what we just do is to explode and scatter, and the women are at the receiving end. Society is at the receiving end because these men are not emotionally and mentally stable. So if the government is not creating that, we as men, let's create such groups and encourage one another to begin to speak. It's not weakness to speak. Even a strong man that can speak. Most times we say it's weakness to speak. Anybody who can speak is a strong person. So it's strength to speak. When you are talking about your problem, it's not weakness. It's not weakness. We need to debunk that. And that's what has kept so many men in the box. And when you talk, when you cry, it's really, when you say you are sick, they will laugh at you. When you say I have an issue, and it's killing us. So let's begin to build that and encourage one another as men. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ebuka. Thank you so much. So go on to questions for Elizabeth. Elizabeth, are you on?
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay. Thank you so much for your discussion. So we have a few questions for you. Would you like me to ask the question and you answer, or should I ask all the questions at one time?
Yeah, I'll do the same as Ebuka. Ask all the questions.
So the first question is, what is a vasectomy? Second question is it safe for men and can it be reversed? Can vasectomies be reversed? Is it safe for men? Then also, when you spoke about sexual reproductive health, we realized that a lot of men are very comfortable with the way things are. The discussion on sexual reproductive health, because nobody's talking about it, it's a very comfortable place for them. So how can it, and if you even think about it, in recent times, we had the thing trending on social media about different men going to have DNA tests for their children to make sure that the children were not theirs and all those things. So what do you think about that space and all those things? Like, do you feel like men would be interested in having the spotlight put on them away from the women? Because obviously that now, a lot of the women who go out and cheat on their husbands and all that do it because there's pressure from in-laws and so many different things like that. Do you think that men would be comfortable with leaving their own comfort zones and having the spotlight put on them? Also, I have another question. Considering the fact that when you think about sexual reproduction in the hospitals, most of those areas are filled with women. The matrons are all women, the midwives, the women, they are all women. So how do you think that we as women, we can get ourselves to be open So actually allowing men to participate. Like during your talk, you gave an example of men who would follow their wives to their meetings and they would tell them to wait outside. So how do you think we as women can be open to having men participate and not just restricting it to be like, oh, are you a woman, or calling them women rapper and stuff like that, in a way sort of discouraging them from participating, even those men who are interested? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the questions, Favor. So I'll take the first one on vasectomy. So vasectomy simply is a form of family planning method. It's actually a permanent form of family planning method for the men. And what it does is it prevents the man from being able to impregnate a female. The man would still go through all of the normal reproductive processes in terms of he would still produce sperm, he would still ejaculate, all of that would happen. Basically, what happens is that there's a procedure that is done such that there's a block where the sperm cannot get to the vagina. And once the sperm can't get to the vagina, what happens? Pregnancy cannot occur. So it's not something that is reversible. That's why it's called a permanent form of family planning method. It's most times recommended for people who already have quite a lot of children or a large number of children. They do not see themselves procreating or wanting to have kids anymore. Yeah, so those are the people that is usually advised for. So it's not a method that is advised for young people, because young people just want to prevent pregnancy for a short period of time till probably when they are ready to now start procreating. I think you asked them what, because I think I've answered all the questions on vasectomy. Or was there another
Yes, you have.
Okay.
You have. You said it's safe and it can not be reversed. It's permanent.
Yes, it's permanent. It can be reversed. So just the way you have vasectomy, you also have tubal ligation for the women. So tubal ligation is also, it's the same, it does the same thing that vasectomy does for the men. And it's also a permanent form of family planning for the women as well. And so what they just do simply is to block the tubes such that when the woman procreates, the egg can go to the fallopian tube for a sperm to fertilize it. That's basically what happens. So they are both permanent methods of family planning. So for the second question, which was talking about how we can promote male involvement, putting men on the spotlight, and in a way kind of taking the shine away from the women, which is what has happened over time, over long period of time.
Yeah.
I don't think the focus should be on who gets the spotlight or who is in the spotlight. I get a lot of questions from men, especially when you're talking about rape issues. They say, why is it only the women we are advocating for? Why are we not advocating for the men? Men are also raped. Men are also abused. Men also go through, issues, as Ebuka mentioned, based on the societal norms that we have. They're also going through issues. They also have mental health issues. Men also go through relationship issues. It's not only women that go through relationship issues. So they go through everything. Yes, we accept and we agree with that. But then the truth is, what we are saying is both parties should be involved equally, And it's also possible for you to decide and say, you know what, I want to focus on only the male folks, just the way Ebuka is doing, And for me, I'm looking at young people generally. So whether it's female, whether it's male, I work with both parties. But basically, what we are saying is, let us involve both of them. I'm not about the spotlight, as to who we are focusing on more, because we both experience the same issues, really, just in different ways and at different, volumes, but we both experience the same issues. So there's really, it's not a competition as to whose person's issues should be focused on more than the other. It's not. It's just saying that over time, men have been sidelined and have not been involved as much as they should, and we should begin to involve them. And there's another thing again. It's one thing for you to want to involve men, but it's another thing for men to actually want to be involved. Because that's the problem. It's okay for me to say, oh yes, I want to involve men in sexual reproductive health, and I want to bring men on board to work with me to do sensitization programs and talk to their fellow men with regards to engaging in, safe sexual practices. That's a good thing, yes. But what happens when I call for men and nobody shows up? Or I tell men, oh yeah, come, let's do this, and then nobody comes up. So it's one thing for us to want to engage them, but it's another thing for them to also see reasons and see, the benefits for why they should actually get involved. And that is why I really admire what Alima is doing through Life After Abuse Foundation, having those conversations by Instagram to begin to change that notion that men should be on the sidelines, and these issues are not things that actually concern them, but it's something that concerns all of us. Then the last question I talked about the health force. So yeah, when it comes to that, I think it's more about health. It's more about the health systems, really. It's not something that one individual can do. It's something that an advocacy. It's like an advocacy effort that needs to be done by multiple stakeholders. We need to do a complete system overhaul if you want to begin to have both males and females running some of these positions at the health centers and the clinics and the family planning units. Mind you, let us even take our minds back. When in school, who do you tell to go and study nursing? You say the females, the girls, right? Nursing is a female course, it's a female profession. Then when it's time for us to study medicine, who do we tell to study medicine? You say, oh, it's more of the men. The men should go and study medicine. So we see how society and societal norms are shaping the things that begin to affect us in the long run. So at every point in time, when you tell a girl not to study medicine because she's a girl, and you tell a boy not to study nursing because he's a boy, what you have just done is you have created a ripple effect whereby we would not have male nurses who can attend to some of these issues. And the same thing, we would not have female doctors who will be able to attend to some of these issues for the females as well. So this is something that we need to begin to change. We need to begin to change that orientation. And that's why I'm a strong promoter for gender equality. I believe that if everybody accepts and embraces gender equality, the society is going to be an amazing place for everybody to live in. Because what it just means is that both the males and the female have access to equal opportunities and equal resources, regardless of whatever it is, whatever differences they have, be it in age, sex, orientation, and all of that. So the moment we begin to ensure that both males and females understand that you can pursue whatever career it is you want to pursue, regardless further, to ensure that these things are corrected. And at the same time, we need to engage policymakers. I remember Alima talked about the fact that we need to begin to engage a wide variety of stakeholders. Everybody has a role to play, whether you're a male, whether you're a female, whether you're a politician, whether you're you're the non-profits, whether you're even in the private sector. Every single person has a role to play. Yeah. We need to begin to engage people at the policy level such that they see reasons why they should put measures in place for men to also occupy some of these spaces.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. So Halima, will just straight away be going to you. And we have a few questions for you. One, what do people mean when they say all men in a sentence? Also, why is there a lot of controversy surrounding feminism? Then a third question would be, how can you ensure to keep standards high when you have to make diversity hires?
Thank you so much, Faith. Thank you, Elizabeth, for that. That was very educative. What do we mean when we say all men? I assume that you're referring to the women who are always making statements like, all men.
Yeah,
well,
all men
my personal interpretation. Right. Well, my personal interpretation to that is what that pretty much means is all men are upheld in patriarchy. It doesn't necessarily mean when I stand on a platform to say men need to end violence, I don't mean like all men are violent. I mean like all men have a responsibility to, change the narratives on masculinity, to hold their other friends, their other male counterparts accountable for their toxic actions and words towards women. That's pretty much what that means. Now, there's a lot of controversy around feminism because I mean, we cannot deny the fact that I know that there are currently some women that are, you know, changing the narratives of feminism. You know, they are already switching the definition and all of that. But however, I strongly believe that, you know, the reason why that is so is because a lot of women are broken. A lot of women have been raped. A lot of women have experienced emotional abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse. So, you know, so when you don't address a certain type of pain and it's being talked about in public, you would definitely address it from a place of pain, which is why I always advocate for women, you know, get the help that you need. It's not always very easy, but, you know, mental health is now a thing now, and nobody's trying to get help, psychological help anymore. So if you know you've been hurt or you've been abused, just get the help that you need so that, you know, your children do not pay for it, or so that all the men in your life do not pay for it. And for the men who think that feminism is an attack on men, feminism is not an attack on men. A lot of people think that feminism means, you know, women just wanting to overtake men or dethrone men from their high position and all the other stuff. Feminism is pretty much not that. You know, in the past, women were not allowed to vote, women weren't allowed to drive. It wasn't even until recently that they started allowing women to drive in our country. Just recently, women were not allowed to drive. So feminism is much about advocating for women's rights to be free from fear and violence. A lot of women, including myself, you know, we live in constant fear and violence. And I'm sure that the women listening to me can totally relate to that. So feminism is pretty much creating a safe space for women, ensuring that women can lead, ensuring that a woman who has the ability to take on a position can take on the position without discriminating, basically. So that's pretty much what feminism is all about. It's about equality, gender equality, ensuring that women and men have equal rights and access to the same opportunities, and pretty much all of that. Yeah.
Thank you, Halima. Also, the question about diversity hires, because you spoke about professions and people hiring more women and stuff. So the question is, how do you ensure to keep standards high with diversity hires? Like if you're saving a space, like you're saving, oh, okay, we're going to hire 10 people, at least 4 of those must be women. Then how do you make sure that you keep your standard in the company high if you're just saving those space for women, whether or not, what if the women don't meet up to the expectations? Like, what do you do in that kind of situation?
Like I said earlier in my conversation, for, you know, give the role to the person who is skilled enough, who has the right attitude, who is skilled enough. So I don't think that when it comes to hiring someone, it should have to do with the gender. I believe that if a woman if she's qualified for a role, I mean, give the role to her. If a man is qualified for the role, give the role to the man. If a man is qualified for a leadership role in a corporate organization, by all means, give the role to him. Like Elizabeth said, I don't think it should be a gender fight or a gender battle. I think that it should just be about giving the positions to whom it's due to, pretty much, not because of your sex or anything. It should just be, I mean, as decent humans, we should just act based on what is right, basically, not what is wrong or what society considers right or wrong. I think that we should just, you know, act based upon what is right.
Thank you so much, Halima. I feel like everyone here has learned so much and has heard so much, and it's going to take a while to be able to process this, but I and start to act on the things that you've learned today. Start to treat women fairly, start to pay attention to the boys in your life. Hello?
And I think she wants to say something.
Okay, you want to say something? Okay. If you just unmute her, that would be great.
Elizabeth, please go ahead.
Yes, thanks. So I just wanted to chip in something with regards to diversity. So, the thing with diversity is not, it's not about creating spaces for women. That's one thing I want to correct. It's not that we want to like pick a particular place and say, okay, you know what, this place is for women. Yeah. But diversity is saying that groups that might have, probably been marginalized or been left out over a particular point in time, should be given certain platforms and opportunities. And so that's why if you want to probably, um, if they want to select a pool of people for a particular program or activity or event, and they want to promote diversity, they will tell you that 70% goes to everybody and anybody, yeah? But then they are reserving 30% for people who might come from a marginalized group or a minority group, such like rural communities, rural areas, from maybe sexual orientations that, are not widely accepted, things like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that if they don't get applications from those people, then those slots would still go to people who qualify for those positions or for those places. It doesn't stop that from happening. But then they just want to ensure that because you want to promote diversity, you want to ensure that these other persons who might not necessarily have access to some of these platforms and opportunities do actually have access to it. And that's why we have things like quotas in the political system to say that a particular percentage in parliament should be reserved for females, And then everybody knows that regardless of whatever it is that you do, this percentage, goes to females, right? But then we've seen cases whereby sometimes in some states, it's even the men that take up the places because they say that they claim or say that women are not available to take up some of those spaces. So diversity is not it's not like you creating one spot for only just one particular group of people, But then as Halima said, ensuring that those spaces are there for people who have what it takes to occupy it.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for that add-on. It really brought some clarity into the question. Thank you.